Welcome to the Chapter Hearth. We wish you moments of joy and relaxation listening to our stories. Serafina Hayes, Alexander Thorne's idealized first love, crashed into me while I was riding my bike. I'd always known Alex had a dream girl, someone he pined for, but I never imagined it was the very woman who had just hit me. When Alex rushed to the scene, I froze for a moment, instinctively thinking he was coming for me. Serafina sprang up, her white dress fluttering, and ran straight into his arms.
Alex, what should I do? I just hit someone.
Alex, what should I do? I just hit someone.
Alex took off his suit jacket and gently draped it over her shoulders. His familiar, deep voice was as indifferent as ever.
I'll handle it.
I slowly averted my gaze, looking down at my own injury. It was then I suddenly understood why Alex had been coming home less often. The woman in his arms was indeed his dream girl.
Isabella Henderson has returned. My boyfriend is here. Just tell his assistant whatever compensation you want. I'm really sorry. I made you late for work and hurt you. Don't hesitate to ask for anything. My boyfriend is very rich. He'll definitely agree to all your demands.
I only gave a soft, "Thank you." Alex's assistant, Ethan Chen, looked visibly flustered. He was one of the few who knew Alex and I were secretly married.
Mrs. Thorne, no, Miss Henderson. Well,
His gaze swept over my injured knee and then halted.
your wound, why is it still bleeding like this? It's clearly been half an hour since the accident. Do you have a blood clotting disorder?
Yes, but it's only a mild case. Alex turned his head, his deep voice carrying a hint of disturbance.
Blood clotting disorder?
Serafina looked bewildered.
What's wrong?
Alex seemed not to hear her, his eyes fixed on my bleeding knee, his brows furrowed tightly. Serafina finally sensed something was amiss. Her expression flickered with suspicion as she looked from me to Alex and back again.
Do you two know each other?
Alex would never let Serafina know he had a secret wife. He snapped back to reality, lowered his gaze, concealing any unfamiliar emotions. Immediately after, he took Serafina's hand and walked away. Before leaving, he coldly instructed Ethan Chen to take me to the hospital. As their figures faded into the distance, I declined Ethan Chen's offer of a ride. I had already called a rideshare. "Please, just transfer $75 for a day's compensation. That'll be enough." Ethan Chen awkwardly left. I temporarily put a bandage on my knee. Unfortunately, the rideshare driver called to say he was stuck in traffic and couldn't leak it. I braced myself and slowly stood up. It was November 28th. In exactly 2 months, my marriage contract with Alex would expire. It was time for me to start preparing to leave. From high school to college, my tuition was covered by Alex. In college, I got accepted into a school in the same city where he lived. In my junior year, I interned at his company for 3 months. At that time, Serafina had gone abroad for graduate studies, so I was completely unaware of her existence. Alex kept me by his side, teaching me many things. The man, usually calm and rarely showing emotion, that day outright kicked a customer square in the chest when he made an inappropriate move on me. He placed a liquor bottle in my palm, wrapped his arm around me from behind, and his deep voice resonated next to my ear.
Do you know what I want to teach you today?
My entire body was enveloped by the cold scent of wood mixed with a hint of alcohol. I breathed lightly, forcing myself to respond calmly. "You want to teach me to resist at the right time, to know when to advance and retreat with moderation, so I can maintain the initiative." Alex's strong hand took mine, tightening its grip around the bottle.
My good student, this isn't a test question. Don't give me textbook answers like that.
He raised my hand high.
It's simple. Fight back.
Smash! The bottle struck the other person's head directly without an ounce of mercy. My palm felt numb and trembling. Alex took a handkerchief from his suit pocket, lowering his head to wipe away the sweat from my hand.
From now on, don't forget you have me backing you up. Don't let anyone bully you again.
I quickly pulled my hand away and turned to run. If I had delayed even a moment longer, I wouldn't have been able to hide the tremor in my eyes. Before graduating my senior year, Alex came to me with a contract. He needed a marriage of convenience to deal with his parents' pressure to get married. The term was 3 years. The conditions were to keep our marriage a secret from everyone, and occasionally I would need to accompany him to his family home to deal with his parents. We wouldn't need to fulfill marital obligations or be responsible for each other. I could even date, as long as it wasn't too public, to avoid his parents finding out. When the contract expired, I would receive a $5 million payment. Perhaps it was because this was the first time I had truly liked someone. Or perhaps it was Alex's occasional indulgence that made me a little naive, making me feel entitled. After we got married, I moved into the new villa he bought. Every day, what I looked forward to most was the moment Alex returned home. We would eat together, talk, and sometimes he would even watch movies with me or go for walks. That day, he drank quite a bit at a business dinner. When he came home, his female executive assistant, Miss Green, helped him. His arm was draped over her shoulder, his face resting against her neck.
Mrs. Thorne, please step aside. I need to get President Thorne inside.
A surge of stifled anger rose, blocking my chest. I didn't move aside, but reached out to support my husband.
I'll take care of him.
I helped him stumble inside, and as I was about to close the door, Miss Green curled her lips into a sneer.
As President Thorne's wife, you should be a little more generous. Such heavy jealousy will drive you crazy sooner or later. Do you want President Thorne to fire all the female employees in the company because of you?
I hadn't expected Alex, even drunk, to be sober enough to hear the entire conversation. Thanks to that, he also realized the feelings I had buried. By the time I brought out the hangover soup, he was already sitting on the sofa, his eyes clear and fixed on me. You woke up just in time. Drink a little. It'll help you feel better. I was still upset about his intimacy with his executive assistant, so I didn't want to say much. Alex glanced at the bowl, but didn't touch it. Then he suddenly asked, out of the blue,
Do you know why I don't let you into my study?
Your study? No. I shook my head. He stood up, took my hand, and led me into the study. The door opened, and a large painting came into view. A girl of 16 or 17 stood in a field of flowers, her face bowed, eyes closed, smelling the blossoms. The angle only showed half her face. Because of this, when I first met Serafina later, I hadn't recognized her immediately. Alex pulled out a cigarette from his pocket and lit it.
I've liked her since she was 17. It's been 10 years now. If we hadn't argued, if she hadn't gotten angry and gone abroad, the one I would be marrying now would definitely be her.
His words came out like casual conversation, but in every word there was an inherent coldness, like an invisible bond between him and the girl in the painting. Each of his words struck my eardrums, bringing a vague, sharp pain. Alex paid no attention to my reaction, flatly shattering my illusions.
I can't give you the answer you want. Izzy, these thoughts you shouldn't have. It's best not to let them arise. I'll add a clause to the contract. If you can't control your emotions and interfere with my affairs, it will be considered a breach of contract. The breaching party will not only lose the entire payment, but also have to pay corresponding damages.
The lights in the study weren't on. Only light from the hallway spilled onto the floor in front of me. I saw my shadow, stiff as rotten wood, unable to move. Suddenly, I remembered an internship. Hearing Alex once described greedy, insatiable people. They always try to test boundaries, their anxious, waiting expressions truly nauseating. Now, I had become the type of person he despised to the bone. I don't know when Alex left. I remained rooted to the spot until the morning light filled the room, standing until the lump in my chest finally dissipated. From that day on, I managed myself strictly, not letting any excessive emotion show. Calm, polite, respectful, that was all I offered him. Gradually, it seemed I truly no longer liked him. Regaining my composure, I stopped by a small clinic to treat the wound on my leg, then sent a message to my team lead asking for a day off. Confirming there was nothing urgent, I went to the hospital to see my mother. My mother had been waiting forever and couldn't get an appointment with the doctor.
Well, I'll just discharge myself then. Staying in the hospital like this costs too much money, honey. You see, I have a tumor in my brain, and its location is particularly difficult. There are fewer than 3 doctors in the entire country who can operate on this case.
I cut a piece of pear and put it in my mother's mouth, cutting off her grumbling. Absolutely not. Mom, do you forget? Last time you just went for a checkup on the 3rd floor and fainted right there. Besides, I heard that a leading professor who can perform this surgery will be coming to the hospital in the next 2 months. Your primary care doctor also said if this news is true, she would immediately help us book an appointment. Thinking about the possibility of my mother's illness soon being cured, my steps felt lighter as I went to get lunch. But right in the hallway, the head nurse hesitated and stopped me. Miss Rodriguez, what's wrong? Has a VIP room opened up? This was one of the top hospitals in the country. Even the VIP rooms were always full, making it hard to get a spot. But my mother's 8-person ward didn't have a private bathroom, and the conditions weren't great. So I had asked the head nurse to keep an eye out for an empty VIP room for my mother. She sighed.
Yes, there's one available. Initially, I immediately reserved it for your mother, but then a girl with a very powerful background directly took the room for her own mother. Oh, right. Her mother also has a brain tumor. I heard her boyfriend, Mr. Thorne, is the CEO of a huge corporation, so the hospital didn't dare cross them.
Almost simultaneously, I caught a glimpse of a figure rounding the stairwell. The familiar white dress was indeed the one Serafina Hayes was wearing this morning. I pulled my gaze back, smiling at the head nurse to reassure her. It's okay. Thank you for your help. A VIP room isn't as important as my mother getting surgery soon. That afternoon, I returned home. Alex was standing in front of the coffee machine at the kitchen counter. I paused momentarily. Wasn't he with Serafina at this hour? But then, I thought it had nothing to do with me. I gave a slight nod in greeting to Alex. Mr. Thorne. Having said that, I intended to return to my room.
How's your knee wound?
I've applied medicine already. It's fine. Alex set down his coffee cup, stood up straight, and glanced at the watch on his wrist.
Tonight, I need you to accompany me to the Thorne family dinner. Do you have time?
In truth, he didn't need to ask so politely. According to the contract, no matter how busy I was, I had to drop everything to accompany him home to deal with his parents. I nodded. Yes, I do. Going to the Thorne family home, I couldn't dress casually as usual. From the closet, I chose a designer outfit, skillfully applied makeup, put on jewelry, and sprayed perfume, ensuring I was polished and refined from head to toe. When the car stopped in front of the Thorne family estate, I was ready. I habitually linked arms with Alex and walked in, smiling and obediently greeting each elder. During dinner, Alex's mother, Mrs. Thorne, suddenly asked pointedly, "Have you two made plans to have children yet?" At that moment, I was drinking soup. Hearing that, I choked on a mouthful, coughing continuously. Alex, beside me, handed me a tissue and naturally patted my back.
Izzy is still young.
It's been 20 years already. She's not a child anymore. You need to pay attention to this, do you hear? I struggled to swallow the soup and nodded. I know, Mom. That night, it rained heavily, forcing Alex and me to stay overnight at the Thorne family home. 1 bed, 2 blankets. We were used to sleeping separately, so it wasn't too awkward. I changed into my nightgown, walked out of the bathroom, sat on the sofa, and applied medicine to my knee. Alex glanced over, speaking softly.
I'm sorry, I didn't have time to take you to the hospital today.
He frowned, his eyes seeming to weigh how to explain his relationship with Serafina to me. In the end, I took the initiative to interrupt him. It's fine. The contract doesn't stipulate that you have to fulfill any obligations to me. Don't dwell on it. I paused for a moment, then added, "And about you and Miss Hayes, I won't ask too many questions. Please rest assured, I won't let her know about our contract marriage. I'll cooperate fully until the 2 months are up." He looked up slightly.
2 months? It seems I've forgotten.
That's right. In 2 months, the contract expires. We can get a divorce and consider our business concluded. Alex set down his wine glass, looking indifferent.
You remember dates and deadlines quite clearly.
After that uninspired comment, he turned and walked straight into the bathroom. My mother's primary care doctor called me, saying that in half a month, the professor who could perform the surgery would arrive at this hospital. Unfortunately, the appointment slots opened and were snatched up in an instant. But because my mother's condition was so unique and couldn't be delayed any longer, the doctor had submitted an application on my behalf to the hospital director for an additional slot. For the next half month, every day after work, I went to the hospital to stay with my mother. That day, as I stepped into the elevator, the doors were closing when someone pressed the hold button. Alex entered with Serena. Serena had completely forgotten me, her eyes merely sweeping over me as if I were a stranger. Alex's steps, however, paused for a brief moment. The elevator ascended. Serena clung to his arm, pouting.
Thank you, my amazing Alex, for helping my mom get a hospital room and even priority for examinations. Now we just have to wait for the results. How can I ever thank you enough? Or how about I grudgingly give you a chance to take me out to dinner?
I calmly stared straight at the elevator panel, not turning my head. A few seconds later, I heard him ask softly,
What do you want to eat?
How about we go to your place? I want to eat your homemade pasta.
Just then, the elevator stopped at my floor. The doors opened and I stepped out. Even after I was completely out of sight, I still didn't hear Alex's answer, but it wasn't hard to guess he wouldn't refuse. It seemed I would have to find a hotel for the night. I couldn't go home. After having dinner with my mother, I rented a room at a hotel near the hospital. After showering, I quickly fell asleep. In a daze, I received a call from Alex. Hello?
Hello? When are you coming home? I finished cooking dinner and I'm waiting for you.
Half my face was buried in the pillow as I mumbled, "Aren't you with Serafina? I'm afraid of running into you two at home and not knowing how to explain to her. So I rented a hotel room for the night." Alex's voice deepened.
Don't overthink things. Send me the hotel address. I'll come pick you up.
I was so sleepy, I was irritable, rolling around in the blankets, frowning. "No need, Alex. I'm already asleep. Don't bother me anymore." The man on the other end was silent for a few seconds, his attitude gradually softening with a hint of teasing.
Are you this grumpy when you wake up?
In my semi-conscious state, I didn't feel as scared of him as usual. I just grumbled softly. I didn't know if it was an illusion, but I seemed to hear him chuckle softly.
All right, go to sleep. I won't bother you anymore.
As soon as he finished speaking, I fell back into a deep sleep. The next day, I have almost forgotten the content of last night's call with Alex, only vaguely remembering that I had been bold enough to call him by his first name. This time, when the phone rang again, I thought he was calling to scold me. My voice was therefore even more cautious. "Is something wrong, Mr. Thorne?" The other end of the line was silent for a long time before his faint voice came through.
Nothing. I just forgot to ask what you were doing at the hospital yesterday.
I spoke very softly, afraid he would misunderstand that I was secretly asking for help. My mother was admitted, but it's nothing serious. She should be discharged soon. Alex only gave a soft, Then he instructed.
If you need any assistance, contact my executive assistant directly.
I politely thanked him, but didn't take his words to heart. That supplementary clause in the contract had made it my habit to restrain myself. Actively asking Alex for help would be crossing a line. I couldn't do that. The other end of the line didn't hang up. I couldn't help but ask, "Mr. Thorne, do you have anything else to say?" Through the phone, I heard a faint tapping of fingers on a tabletop, repetitive. It was a small habit of Alex whenever he was on the phone. He spoke indifferently.
I just wanted to ask what time you usually take your nap, so I can call you at exactly that time later.
I completely failed to understand. Intentionally calling when I was taking a nap? Was this a new tactic from the CEO who enjoyed tormenting others? Professor Davis, the medical specialist, would arrive at the hospital on the afternoon of the 17th. The consultation time was only 3 hours, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We were the last appointment. This time, when I met Serafina at the hospital, she was alone. Alex had gone abroad for a business trip on the 13th and wouldn't return for another week. On the morning of the 17th, I coincidentally overheard Serafina chatting at the nurse's station. She was leisurely chewing an apple.
My mother just got some of her test results back, but the director said not to worry. It's probably nothing.
The nurse, busy checking information, looked up and smiled in response.
That's good then. Why don't you take a walk around first? We're still preparing to welcome Professor Davis for consultations this afternoon.
Serafina acted as if she hadn't heard the first part, immediately pressing.
Professor? Which professor?
The nurse replied that he was a top brain specialist, but all the consultation slots were gone, and Mrs. Hayes's condition was different, so she didn't need to see the professor. Serafina took another bite of her apple, a calculating look flickering in her eyes. I see. A vague sense of unease rose in my heart. But thinking that Serafina's mother's illness wasn't serious and wasn't Professor Davis's main specialty, I reassured myself that she wouldn't try to snatch the slot. In reality, things always turned out contrary to my expectations. At 2:30 p.m., my mother's primary care doctor called me out of the ward. The doctor looked at me, her expression heavy.
The appointment slot is gone.
Those 4 words hit my eardrums like a hammer, making my head ring, almost dizzy. She frowned and continued.
It was taken by the girlfriend of President Thorne's corporation. I went to her and explained that I could fully handle her mother's condition. There was no need for the professor, but she absolutely refused to listen, insisting that the professor examine her to be sure.
I had to brace myself against the wall to stand upright. Can't another slot be added?
There's no time. Professor Davis has another appointment at 5:30.
I clenched my hands, my fingernails digging into my skin to keep myself lucid. I immediately called Alex. He was probably in a meeting. His phone was off. Time ticked by, minute by minute. I couldn't hesitate. I caught a cab home to get my marriage certificate with Alex. By the time I returned to the hospital, it was almost 4 o'clock. The primary care doctor led me to the director's office. Before I could even open my mouth, the director waved his hand.
Don't ask anymore. It's useless. You can't get those remaining slots back.
I pushed the marriage certificate across his desk, breathing heavily. I'm Isabella Henderson, Alex Thorne's legal wife, the CEO of Thorne Enterprises. You can check carefully to see if this marriage certificate is fake. I'm not here to steal someone else's slot. I just want to reclaim the slot that rightfully belongs to my mother. Finally, I managed to reclaim the appointment. With the surgery scheduled with Professor Davis for 20 days later, my heart, which had been so anxious, finally found temporary peace. I specifically instructed the primary care doctor and the director to keep my identity confidential, but I still couldn't withstand Serafina's relentless pursuit. That evening, as I was leaving the hospital, she followed and blocked my path. Our eyes met. Serafina frowned slightly, then, after a moment, the corners of her lips curled into a cold smile.
I remember now. You're the girl I ran into the other day, aren't you? No wonder Alex cared so much about your blood clotting disorder.
I lowered my eyes and replied softly, "If you hadn't stolen my slot, I wouldn't have gone to such lengths. The relationship between Mr. Thorne and me isn't what you think. I can explain." But Serafina didn't care to listen. She just extended her hand.
I just want to see the marriage certificate. If you don't show me, do you believe I'll cause trouble at the hospital and make your mother's stay, not to mention her surgery, anything but peaceful?
I was forced to show it to her. Serafina was still smiling, her expression unchanged throughout. She nodded, returning the certificate to me. Immediately after, she dialed Alex. He must have finished his meeting. The call connected quickly.
Alex, so you have a wife?
A moment of silence. His deep voice resonated through the phone.
Who told you something?
Serafina's eyes turned red, glaring at me. Then she turned and declared directly into the phone.
How could you treat me so cruelly? Let's break up.
Having said that, she decisively hung up and turned to leave. I pressed my lips together. As I took one step forward, Serafina didn't even turn her head, coldly uttering,
It's best not to follow me. If you tolerate your husband's infidelity, you're no less despicable. Don't force me to cause a scene right outside the hospital gates.
I called Alex more than a dozen times, but all my calls were rejected. I sent messages explaining the whole situation, but he didn't respond. On the 20th, he returned to the country, but didn't come back to the villa until the 25th. The 5 days in between must have been spent entirely on placating Serafina. The night before, I accidentally scrolled through a local social media app and saw her post with a Hong Kong location tag. The photo was just Alex's back in a bathrobe, standing in front of a floor-to-ceiling hotel window. In front of him were the dazzling lights of Victoria Harbor, reflecting into the darkened room, leaving only a faint glow. The caption read, "Love and status, which is more important?" Although written as a question, she clearly had her answer in mind. Today, Alex finally found time to settle accounts with me. I was ready to face his anger. In fact, he didn't even spare me a glance. He casually tossed his jacket aside, crossed his legs on the sofa, and lit a cigarette.
Do you remember what we once talked about?
His voice was very calm, not like he was scolding, but like a regular question. Yet the inherent authority in his bones made the atmosphere heavy to the point of suffocating.
If you had thought about the contract before publicly revealing this marriage, perhaps none of what happened afterwards would have occurred.
I reflexively and quickly retorted, That's not it. It's because Serafina took my mother's appointment slot, and the doctor said my mother's condition couldn't be delayed any longer. Only a few people in the entire country can operate on her. He slowly cut me off.
What does your mother have to do with me?
I immediately choked, unable to utter another word. Our eyes met. Alex's voice was so calm, it was chilling.
Why would I need to care about your mother's illness? All those reasons are meaningless, aren't they? The fact is, you breached the contract.
All my justifications were stuck in my throat. I mechanically nodded. I'm sorry. I'll accept all consequences. I silently awaited the final verdict. I didn't know what he was thinking. I only saw the cigarette clamped between his fingers burn down, its ash falling onto his pant leg, unnoticed by him. The phone rang, breaking the death-like silence. He answered. Even without speakerphone, Serafina's voice pierced through the earpiece, clear enough to hear.
I've investigated your wife, Alex. She likes you.
Standing beside him, my body stiffened. I no longer felt shame, only a cold emptiness.
Do you know what that means? It means a few days ago, when she snatched the professor's appointment, it was all intentional. Her mother wasn't serious at all, as she claimed. She was just jealous of me, deliberately acting against me to get it.
My head snapped up, my heart seeming to skip a beat. The decision Alex hadn't made, Serafina had already pronounced for him.
Take back that surgery slot. Let your mother... I don't believe you. If that professor doesn't do it, your mother will die.
Her indifferent words struck me, making my legs turn to jelly. I collapsed to my knees right beside Alex. I trembled, grabbing his sleeve, my voice cracking. No, I didn't lie. My mind began to reel. My words jumbled. I sobbed, begging. My mother's surgery. Truly, no one else can do it except him. You can investigate if you don't believe me. Please, I beg you, don't take it from me. You can treat me however you want. Just please, don't involve my mother. Alex frowned, gripping my wrist tightly.
Izzy, calm down and listen to me first.
But I couldn't hear anything else, completely losing control, only crying and repeating apologies. The taut nerves in me seemed to snap, and my whole body fell into chaos, finally lapsing into unconsciousness.
Izzy!
Before my consciousness slid into oblivion, I felt myself being embraced. The voice in my ear grew faint. It was Alex telling the housekeeper to call the family doctor. Serafina's phone was still connected. She sneered softly.
She fainted? Probably just faking it, right?
Alex's voice sharpened, mixed with anger.
Serafina!
Oh, she just has to pretend to be pathetic, and you believe everything? Alex, if you care about her so much, then don't get a divorce. Just live together. I'm flying back to London tonight.
After that, I completely lost consciousness. Early the next morning, I was woken by a call. I answered, looked around, and confirmed I was indeed in my own bedroom before letting out a soft sigh.
Hello? I haven't been to the amusement park since I got back to the country. I'm planning to invite some friends tonight. You should come too. Oh, right. Don't tell Alex, okay? It's Serafina.
Fragments of last night's memory flooded back. I gripped the bedsheet, sat up abruptly, my voice hurried. Miss Hayes, about my mother, I need to ask you for a favor.
Didn't you understand what I just asked? You know what? Right now, I'm really annoyed with you. How about you figure out a way to make me happy first, and then we can talk about your mother? After all, whether your mother gets surgery or not depends entirely on a single word from me.
The bedsheet crumpled in my grasp. Your mother? What does your mother have to do with me? Alex's cold and contemptuous gaze from yesterday echoed in my mind. Serafina wasn't wrong. Even if Alex investigated my mother's condition, as long as Serafina maintained a firm enough stance, he wouldn't go against her wishes. Because to him, my mother and I were utterly unimportant. I struggled to move my lips, forcing out a hoarse answer. What time tonight? Which park?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.?
I had just finished dinner with my mother at the hospital and was preparing to leave. Serafina's appointed time was 7:30. My mother asked.
Why are you coming home so early today, honey?
I nodded, trying to appear natural. I've been a bit tired lately, Mom. Just wanted to come home and sleep early. She reached out and tucked a stray lock of hair behind my ear, her eyes full of love.
You don't need to come every day. Work is already tough enough. Looking at you these past few days, I can see my daughter has gotten thin worrying about me.
I wished I could forever hear these warm, nagging words. Taking a deep breath, I offered a soft smile. Have I really gotten thin? Then I'll have a late-night snack tonight. I'll take a picture and send it to you, Mom. Bye, Mom. In reality, Serafina wouldn't give me a chance for a late-night snack.
Our little sister is finally here. It's no fun without you playing.
She immediately dragged me to the water balloon target range, pointing to a bucket overflowing with water balloons.
Later, you'll hold a water balloon in each hand and run back and forth in this shooting range. We'll practice our aim and have a blast.
I looked at the plastic guns not far away. She laughed, her voice comforting but full of hidden meaning.
Don't be scared. They're just plastic pellets. They won't hurt too much when they hit you.
Serafina was over 5'7". At this moment, she leaned down slightly, feigning intimacy, and even lightly pinched my cheek.
Don't worry. How could I be so stupid as to injure you and give you an excuse to go run and tell Alex?
I struggled in despair, my voice trembling. I haven't liked Mr. Thorne for 2 years now, and besides, my contract with him is expiring soon. I'll be leaving then. Serafina scoffed softly, subtly wrinkling her pretty nose.
Lying. There must be something between you two. Otherwise, why would he treat you so specially?
Her lips were smiling, but the depths of her eyes grew cold. I understood that arguing would only make her angrier, but when I heard the words "so specially," I still felt a bitter, cynical amusement. A water balloon burst, and I had to run to get another one, holding it up in my hand. Luckily, it was already November, and I was dressed warmly enough. The stray plastic pellets that hit me didn't hurt too much.
Izzy, hurry up and run. Don't be lazy, or we might accidentally shoot you in the face, and that would be a pain.
As soon as she finished speaking, a plastic pellet grazed my ear, right past my earlobe. I was forced to speed up. That day, I didn't know how long I ran. I only remembered my legs were numb to the point of losing all sensation.
Tired of playing? How about everyone else?
Beautiful, Serafina. What's so fun about this? I've been bored for a while now.
Okay, let's go. Change places.
She casually turned back to me and said,
That's enough for today. I'll find you again next time.
I struggled to drag my feet to a nearby bench and flopped down. It was almost half an hour before I managed to drag my exhausted body back to the villa. Alex was sitting, dealing with emails, rimless glasses perched on the bridge of his nose, an iPad in his hand.
What happened to you?
He stood up and walked closer, his gaze stopping at my earlobe. His voice deepened.
Are you hurt?
As he spoke, he leaned in close. I was startled, instinctively stepping back a few paces, widening the distance between us. I'm fine, Mr. Thorne. I'll just go to my room now.
Izzy?
He gently raised his hand as if to stop me, but his hand hung in mid-air before falling.
Don't worry about your mother's situation anymore. The surgery will proceed normally.
I turned my head, hesitantly looking directly into his eyes. His gaze was as it always was, calm, gentle, as if his cold accusations from the other day were nothing but a wild dream. My utterly exhausted body urged me to believe him one more time. Alex surely wouldn't trifle with someone else's life.
What's wrong? Do you want to tell me something?
He lowered his head, his voice slow, as if holding back.
Izzy, I've told you before, don't always try to act so strong. If you still remember, tell me what really happened. I can solve it for you.
I lowered my eyes, gently biting my chapped lips. Thank you, Mr. Thorne, but it's really nothing. With that, I turned and dragged my tired feet back to my room. Until I was 100% sure, I absolutely could not gamble with my mother's life. The surgery was still about 10 days away. My mother needed a full physical examination before the operation. In those precarious and exhausting days, my mother's health indicators were the only thing I could cling to for comfort. At noon, before I went down to the cafeteria to buy lunch, my mother asked anxiously,
You look thinner lately, honey, don't you?
I held out my index finger, shaking it mysteriously. You don't understand, Mom. I'm working on my figure. All the soft spots are firming up now, so I just look thinner. She was skeptical at first, but seeing the larger portion of rice I was holding today than usual, she reluctantly believed me. I took a big mouthful of rice. She didn't know that I was eating so much to gather strength, to have enough energy to face Serafina's torment tonight. Tonight was Alex's birthday. Serafina had rented an entire venue, lavishly decorated to celebrate him.
Alex will be here in 10 minutes, Izzy. Wear this mascot costume. Don't let him see your face. Later, you just need to help us take a few photos and do a few dance moves, and your mission is complete. Easy tonight, right?
I took the bulky mascot costume, nodding. Yes, thank you, Miss Hayes. She patted my head, feigning gentleness.
Good girl. You've been performing very well lately. So well that the other day when I was having dinner with Alex and coincidentally met Professor Davis, I almost couldn't bring myself to tell him to refuse your mother's surgery.
My fingers tightened on the mascot costume, and I began to struggle to put it on. Thank you, Miss Hayes. I'll do everything you ask very well. Seeing me stumbling, my hands and feet clumsy, she burst out laughing with delight.
Slowly, slowly. Be careful not to fall.
Serafina had hired over a dozen people in mascot costumes to perform a lively opening dance. I blended among them. Alex glanced at us for a few seconds, his eyebrows slightly raised.
Do you like these kinds of things now?
He asked Serafina.
They're cute, don't you think? My big CEO seems too much of a businessman. Don't you know how to enjoy a little fairy tale atmosphere?
Alex merely replied indifferently.
Whatever you like.
Serafina waved in my direction.
That's you. Come here and take some pictures for us.
I walked over and took the camera. Alex glanced at me, casually reminding me,
Wearing a mascot head like this limits your vision a lot. Take it off before you take pictures.
Serafina's smile froze for a moment. I kept my voice low as I replied, "Don't worry, I can take pictures like this." He took a wet wipe from a server and cleaned his hands. The moment I finished speaking, his gaze unexpectedly swept over me, his deep, dark eyes cold and scrutinizing. Logically, he shouldn't have recognized me. I had intentionally lowered my voice. The thick fabric of the mascot further distorted the sound. Serafina also sensed something, quickly pulling him towards the cake.
What are you staring at? Come here quickly.
I breathed a sigh of relief, raised the camera, and clicked away. The final task was to record a video. Serafina wanted to dance a waltz with Alex. I just needed to stand by and record everything. Then I could leave. Serafina's arm was loosely draped over his shoulder, her steps leisurely following the waltz rhythm.
Last time you said the contract marriage was almost over, so very soon you can publicly announce me as your official girlfriend, right?
As he turned, Alex's gaze briefly swept over me, but didn't stop.
Tell me, isn't that right? You know I was scared to death, right? I even thought you had really changed your heart. But then again, of course, how could you like an ugly duckling like her?
Alex's eyes fell on a server carrying a tray walking behind her. He loosened his grip.
Let's eat first.
Let's eat first.
All right.
Serafina smiled, turning to wave at me.
You're done. You can go.
I didn't dare to speak further, just nodded slightly and quietly withdrew from the hall. Tonight, I had thought Alex wouldn't come home. After showering, I went out for a drink of water just as he walked in. He casually placed his coat in the foyer. His body still carried the cold air from outside.
Mr. Thorne. Mr. Thorne.
After greeting him, I held my cup of water, intending to return to my room. He blocked my path, glancing at the watch on his wrist.
The day isn't over yet. Can you wish your Mr. Thorne a happy birthday?
I froze, my eyes wide with surprise. So today was his birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Thorne. I lowered my eyes, staring at the cup of water in my hand. Even without looking up, I clearly felt his unreadable gaze. After a moment, he let out a soft sound.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But Alex still showed no intention of moving aside. His voice was leisurely, as if he were making casual conversation.
You've been coming home very late these past few days. Are you busy with overtime?
My face remained expressionless. Yes, work has been a bit heavy recently. He didn't say anything more, leaning aside to let me return to my room. Serafina didn't seek me out for several days. My mother's surgery had entered the preparation phase. Professor Davis had also come to examine her, telling my mother to rest assured. It was actually a minor operation, only a bit special due to its location, otherwise no major issues. At this point, the possibility of Serafina playing tricks to make Alex cancel the surgery was almost gone. But until the very last moment, I still couldn't relax. 3 days before the surgery, on November 8th, Serafina called me.
Lately, my studio suddenly got several big orders, and I'm still out at a business dinner. Could you come here and help me drink a few glasses? Izzy, I think by now you clearly understand. As long as you promise to leave the city immediately when the contract expires, I won't make things difficult for you anymore. Today will be the last time.
The heavy stone that had been weighing on my heart for so long finally dropped. After today, I could fully and wholeheartedly focus on my mother and her surgery. I messaged back a single word. Okay.
Okay.
I took a taxi to the technician's address she sent. The room was thick with the suffocating smell of smoke and alcohol. I gently massaged my temples while Serafina leaned against the sofa and said,
You continue drinking with Brad. I need to rest for a bit.
The man called Brad was an extremely good drinker. Before long, my head began to spin, and my reactions noticeably slowed. He sat closer beside me, smiling faintly.
Can you still drink, little lady? If not, how about I take you outside to rest for a bit?
I clenched my hands, my fingernails digging deep into my palms. The stinging pain in my palms brought me back to a semblance of sanity. I nodded. I can still drink. I'll continue drinking with you. The corners of his mouth curved up, a faint, meaningful smile hidden there.
All right then, drink up.
Gradually, the bottles of wine in front of us were all emptied. I slumped into the sofa, my ears ringing, no longer clearly hearing what they were saying.
This glass, I specially mixed it for you.
Brad brought a cocktail glass close to my lips.
If you drink this one, I won't make you drink any more, okay?
I unconsciously nodded, but as he leaned in,
No, you shouldn't.
Serafina suddenly cut him off, her voice a little hesitant.
I hate her, but I didn't intend to play dirty to this extent.
Brad chuckled softly with a hint of mockery.
You really are too soft-hearted. Did you ever think how much she hates you after all this time you've made things difficult for her? Who knows? Maybe she's trying every way to get into Alex's bed, and once she really sits in that position, she'll definitely stomp you to death.
Serafina choked, lowering her voice.
But she promised me she would leave here.
You believe her? Don't be so naive, great designer Serafina. Besides, what's so bad about being with me? I don't just want to sleep with her casually. Actually, the more I look at this girl, the more she suits my taste. If I sleep with her, I'll even give her a decent position.
My consciousness reeled, my ears buzzed, and the glass of wine was once again brought close to my lips.
Drink up. Be a good girl.
Brad grabbed me, pouring a mouthful into my mouth. Just as I was about to swallow, the door to the private room was kicked open with a bang.
Alex!
He had taken off his tie, wrapping it tightly around his hand, and walked step by step towards Brad Reed. The pressure in the room was so heavy that no one dared to breathe loudly. Brad sprang up, so tense he swallowed hard.
President Thorne, long time no see. Your visit is...
I struggled to open my eyes, vaguely looking into Alex's cold gaze. Mr. Thorne.
Mr. Thorne.
His eyes trembled. All the still air immediately shattered. Alex grabbed Brad's collar, lifted him with one hand, and violently slammed him against the wall. The heavy thud made everyone in the room cry out in fear.
What did you give her to drink?
His voice was deep, each word chilling. Brad's face was distorted in pain.
Just a tranquilizer. President Thorne, I was wrong. I was wrong. Please rest assured, I haven't touched anything at all.
A storm of punches rained down on his face, one after another, powerful and brutal. Only when Brad was almost unconscious did Alex let go, throwing him to the floor like trash. His executive assistant, Ethan Chen, rushed in and, seeing the scene, asked in alarm,
President Thorne, how should we handle this?
Alex lowered his head, untied the blood-stained tie, and casually tossed it aside.
Break both his arms, dump him in front of the police station. You handle the rest.
Understood.
He turned, scooped me up, and strode out.
Alex, are you going crazy for another woman? Do you know who your official girlfriend is?
His gaze at her was so unfamiliar, it was heart-wrenching.
I promised you that when the agreement expired, I would publicly announce you. All these days you've targeted her, and I've overlooked it without pursuing it. But Serafina, this time you've crossed the line.
Never before had Alex been so cold as to make a woman lose face like this.
We should stop here. It's better for both of us.
Serafina burst into tears, her voice trembling.
That's a nice excuse. You say it as if you're disappointed in me, which is why you're breaking up.
She wiped her tears, enunciating each word.
Be a bit more realistic. Is it so hard to just say you like her?
Alex didn't deny it.
Is that what you want to hear?
Serafina sobbed, almost collapsing, sweeping all the wine bottles off the table, leaving a jarring crash. He remained indifferent, not looking back once, carrying me out of the karaoke room. I felt myself being tossed into the car, not too hard, not too soft. Every time the car turned a corner, the mix of alcohol and tranquilizer in my stomach churned, rising in waves. My head spun, feeling uncomfortably dizzy. I curled up, mumbling vaguely. So uncomfortable. Why does it keep shaking? Beside me, the man's voice was cold and indifferent.
How long did you manage to endure and keep a stiff upper lip? What's another hour?
In my daze, I still had a sliver of clarity to understand. He wasn't going to help me. I could only lean my head against the car door, huddling, whispering weakly. Really uncomfortable. A moment later, a pair of arms embraced me, pulling me into his lap. He sat me on his thigh and gently pressed me against his chest, his hand softly rubbing the back of my neck.
Does the car still feel like it's shaking?
I hummed softly. Better now.
Try to bear it a little longer. Izzy, I need to take you to the hospital right away. I can't drive slowly.
I no longer heard clearly, only felt less uncomfortable than before. I drifted off peacefully in his arms. I woke up around noon the next day, my head throbbing as if it would split open. About last night, I only vaguely remembered being drugged by that man named Brad and Alex saving me. It seemed he had also argued and broken up with Serafina. The hospital room door was pushed open. Alex walked in, his indifferent gaze sweeping over me, without intending to speak. I took the initiative. Thank you, Mr. Thorne, for saving me in time last night. He stood by the hospital bed, his tall figure casting a shadow, looking down at me from above.
I asked you more than once if you were in trouble, and more than once I told you I could solve it for you. So why didn't you come to me?
He surely thought I was stubbornly enduring, incredibly foolish. I lowered my head, trying to deflect, my tone seemingly light. I originally thought I could manage on my own. This time I've truly troubled you, Mr. Thorne.
You originally thought? Izzy, have you ever considered what you would have faced if I had arrived a few minutes late last night? Or, in your eyes, that doesn't matter?
His sarcasm made me feel unexpectedly unbearable. I softly retorted, my voice trembling slightly. Then what else could I have done? Serafina forced me to go. If I didn't listen to her, she would have come to you and made you find a way to cancel my mother's surgery. Alex's gaze locked onto me.
Didn't I tell you? You don't need to worry about your mother's surgery anymore.
I couldn't be sure. Could you change your mind again because of a sudden change in Serafina's words?
Do you think I'm the kind of person who doesn't value human life?
I sighed softly. I didn't mean that. Mr. Thorne looked up, staring at the dripping IV bag, his eyes distant, his tone devoid of resentment, only an endless tranquility. I only ever saw you completely devoted to Serafina, so I didn't know if you would break your own principles for her. Someone with no cards in hand doesn't dare to gamble. A ray of sunlight streamed through the window into the hospital room, separating Alex and me. Tiny dust particles floated in the light, gathering into clumps. From a certain angle, it looked like a three-dimensional light pillar standing between us, dividing us into two worlds. The doctor said I needed to stay in the hospital for observation for a day. I immediately called my mother, making an excuse that I couldn't come tonight. My mother had already said, "You don't need to come every day." The caregiver I hired for her was very attentive and kind. The IV made my throat dry and scratchy. I gently cleared my throat, deliberately speaking with feigned enthusiasm.
Today, the company has a team-building event, and my manager is taking us to an all-you-can-eat seafood buffet. Mom, once you're discharged, I'll take you to eat there, okay?
My mother immediately refused, resolute.
Once I'm discharged, I'll go back to the countryside. I won't stay here to bother you anymore. This time has already made you suffer so much and cost a lot of money.
I quickly cut her off.
Mom, why would you say that? When I was little and got sick, you took me to the doctor. Was that me bothering you?
That's not the same. I'm your mother. It's natural for me to take care of you.
It is the same.
My mother couldn't argue, so she quickly hung up. Tomorrow afternoon was the surgery, less than 24 hours away. Surely, no more unexpected incidents would occur. Just as I was thinking this, Ethan Chin, Alex's executive assistant, knocked and entered.
Don't worry. President Thorne asked me to convey that there will absolutely be no more incidents with this surgery. Not only that, he also arranged the best hospital room with a professional nurse to care for your mother after the operation.
Ugh. I pressed my lips tightly, just about to open my mouth when he continued.
This is President Thorne's compensation to you. After all, your relationship is just a cooperative transaction. If there are any shortcomings when the contract expires, it would complicate the matter of holding the breaching party accountable, wouldn't it?
I pondered for a moment, then nodded softly.
Then thank you, Mr. Thorne.
Before entering the operating room, I kept chattering to reassure my mother. Don't be scared, Mom. Professor Davis said it's just a minor surgery. You'll be done after a good sleep. I'll be waiting right outside the door for you. Oh, and one more thing. Let me double check. The nurse reminded you yesterday to fast. You didn't secretly eat anything, did you? And my mother took my hand, the corners of her lips curving gently.
Don't worry, Izzy. I'll be fine.
That dry yet warm hand transferred a wave of heat to my palm. Only then did I realize I was so tense my hands and feet were cold. For as long as the surgery took, I sat rigidly in the waiting area outside. I maintained the same posture until my whole body was numb, not even realizing I should stand up and walk around. My mind was a chaotic mess, mostly praying, occasionally envisioning what stage the surgery was at. The operating room light turned off and the door opened. I immediately sprang up, my entire body taut as a bowstring. The surgery was very successful. My mother was wheeled out, her eyebrows slightly arched, sleeping with unusual peace. In that moment, I suddenly felt that all the resentment and unhappiness of the past period seemed to dissipate. It wasn't until later that evening, sitting in a small restaurant eating a bowl of hot congee, that I suddenly burst into tears. My tears fell into the congee, my sobs suppressed until they were choked. Finally, everything was settled. My mother recovered very well. On November 17th, Professor Davis and my mother's primary care doctor visited her room. As usual, after the examination, he sighed and praised her.
Her recovery is very fast. If she continues like this for another 10 days, without any problems, she can be discharged home to recuperate.
It was already the 17th. That meant the contract between Alex and me was also nearing its expiration. Since that clause was added, I had barely seen Alex. Ethan Chen contacted me for everything that needed to be discussed or arranged. On the 22nd, Ethan Chen called.
Tonight, there's a Thorne family dinner. You need to accompany President Thorne.
Certainly, this was most likely the last time I would have to play my role perfectly with him. I returned to the villa a few hours early to pack. My luggage consisted of just 2 small suitcases. I squatted on the floor, my chin resting on my knees, staring at the 2 suitcases as if looking at a past life. Actually, when I first moved in, I bought many things to decorate the house. But then a comment from Alex made me realize this wasn't my home. Sooner or later, I would have to leave. Since then, I no longer bought useless things. As evening fell, Alex's car arrived outside. 10 days without seeing him, and he had returned to his calm demeanor of old.
How is your mother recovering?
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Thorne, for arranging a caregiver for my mother.
After today, I will have my lawyer contact you to complete the procedures when the contract expires.
Roughly, after the contract ended, I would receive the $5 million payment. I nodded. Yes. At that dinner, besides the usual urging of children, Mrs. Thorne brought up another topic. Your wedding anniversary is coming up soon, isn't it? It's the 28th, I think. She looked at Alex, gently chiding him. Did you hear that? Every year you use business trips as an excuse, never bothering to spend proper time with her. Don't forget this year. Alex's expression didn't change. He merely replied, Mrs. Thorne suggested that it was the perfect season for Hawaii. Why don't you two go there to celebrate? Alex peeled a shrimp and placed it on my plate.
Do you want to go?
I paused slightly, then cooperatively nodded. Yes, I do. It's been a long time since I've been to the beach.
Okay, I'll have someone book tickets tonight.
That's great. Then tonight I'll go home and pack some summer clothes. Mrs. Thorne looked at us, her face filled with contentment. This was how it should be. Tonight we didn't stay at the Thorne family home. We left right after eating. In the car, Alex and I sat on opposite sides. Ethan Chen called to confirm Alex's meeting schedule for the 28th, while I took out my phone to recheck my flight tickets for the same day. Both of us treated the dinner just now as a social obligation, neither mentioning Hawaii again. Everything happened in a flash. An oncoming car suddenly changed lanes and veered straight towards my side of the car. The blinding headlights made it impossible to open our eyes. I couldn't clearly see who the driver was, only knew that the main target was my side. At the very moment before impact, Alex pulled me firmly into his arms, turning to use his back to shield the full force of the collision. My head hit the car door hard, and I lost consciousness. The driver was Serafina. She had been drinking, driving aimlessly, and just happened to spot our car. The alcohol, combined with resentment, made her deliberately swerve to hit my side of the car. She was now under police control. Luckily, Alex's driver managed to swerve in time, so I only sustained minor injuries, but Alex's arm was broken. In the hospital room, I stood awkwardly beside the bed, unsure what to do. I held a glass of water, my hand still trembling slightly. Mr. Thorne, do you want some water? This glass is cold. I'll get you a fresh one. The man lying on the bed had a pale face, showing signs of fatigue, his eyes lazily falling on me.
I woke up, and you're not happy? Why do you look so somber?
I was flustered, my mind chaotic and uncomfortable. Why did he risk his life to save me? What could I do to repay him? Clearly, in just a few days, the contract would expire, and I could comfortably walk away with $5 million, free from any entanglements. Alex's eyelashes trembled slightly. His eyes gradually deepened. After a long while, as if having made a decision, he looked up at me.
That night, when you were drugged in the room, do you remember what happened?
I was startled, not understanding why he brought this up.
Not very clearly. Why? His gaze was fixed on me, waves churning in his eyes.
At that time, Serafina asked me if I had...
Just then, in the hallway, a nurse walked past, talking loudly on the phone, her voice drowning out the rest of his sentence.
He can pursue me all he wants. I'm definitely not agreeing. He hurt me so much because of his ex back then. Now, just seeing him reminds me of all that old pain.
Those words cut into the tense atmosphere of the hospital room. I turned my head back to him. Mr. Thorne, what were you about to say? I didn't know if it was my imagination, but in his eyes there seemed to be a flicker of light just then. But in just a few short seconds, that light faded, replaced by a cold, dim shadow. He tilted his head, looking out the window, his voice hoarse.
Nothing. Don't worry about saving you. Serafina did what she did because of me anyway.
Serafina did what she did because of me anyway. He picked up the glass of water, took a sip, his expression nonchalant.
Our contract is almost due. If you were injured because of this, wouldn't that make me owe you? Then, once you receive the payment, we'll consider each other even, no one owing anyone anything.
I listened and reflected, and it seemed to make sense. I nodded softly. But regardless, Mr. Thorne, I still want to thank you for saving me in time. In the coming days, I'll be busy with discharge procedures for my mother and packing my luggage for shipment. I'm afraid I won't have time to visit you. I wish you a speedy recovery. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. For people or matters he didn't care about, Alex had always concisely replied with a simple, This time was no different. On the morning of the 27th, Alex and I finalized our divorce. Neither of us said a word of goodbye. Perhaps our thoughts were the same. We didn't want to see each other again. That afternoon, Ethan Chen and the lawyers scheduled a meeting with me at the law firm. $5 million was not a small amount. Transferring it all into one account carried high risks. President Thorne's intention was to split it into several installments, depositing them into different financial management institutions, which would be both safe and profitable. These institutions had long-standing partnerships with President Thorne, so I could completely rest assured. For the past few days, I had been hesitant about this sum, but now everything seemed to be neatly resolved. As Ethan Chen left, he casually tossed the fake marriage contract into a paper shredder. In that moment, the invisible chain that had bound me for 3 years suddenly shattered. All my luggage had been shipped home ahead of time. My mother and I completed the security procedures at the airport. In my ear, I heard my mother's long-suffering sigh.
Isn't checked baggage free? With so much luggage, the shipping fees must be expensive.
I immediately hugged her arm, shaking it playfully. It's lighter to fly this way, Mom. No worries, no worries. I even won $1,500 in a scratch-off ticket. When you have money, you don't need to be too frugal, Mom. My mother looked at me helplessly, but couldn't help but be concerned.
You can't just spend it all like that. You can't keep winning forever, can you?
I nodded firmly, confidently. I feel very lucky. Who knows, maybe I'll win another 3,000 times. My mother's eyes suggested she thought I was the one who needed an examination. Just then, an unexpected voice rang out, catching my attention.
What? Hawaii?
I looked up, following the voice. A woman nearby was frantically and angrily talking on her phone.
He's crazy, isn't he? I've already scheduled a meeting with the partners, and he still insists on going with a broken arm. And he wants me to arrange it right now.
My mother gently tugged my sleeve.
What are you looking at, honey?
I was startled, blinking with a faint smile. Nothing, Mom. Let's go. Let's head to the waiting area. November 28th, 10:05 a.m. The cabin door closed. The gentle bilingual reminder repeated, carrying a hint of hypnosis. I pulled down the eye mask, sinking into sleep. Over the past 3 years, everything that had happened flashed through my memory in quick succession, like a chaotic dream, both long and short. Then, time in the dream suddenly slowed, stopping at the exact moment Alex and I parted ways. This time, his voice wasn't drowned out by the nurses. His deep, clear voice rang out.
At that time, Serafina asked me if I had liked you. I said yes. I'm sorry it took me until now to realize. Izzy, can you give me another chance? Let's start over.
The end of the story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, everyone.